Aurelia, in 2013 you found out that your home was going to be acquired for the Westconnex project.
Yeah, it was actually going to be affected by the Westconnex project. I didn't know if it was going to be acquired or not until I think 2016. We got a lady knock on my door, and she was a local paper, and she said to me that, how would you feel if your house was going to be knocked down for the Westconnex tunnel?
And you said, what do you mean?
And you know, I often tell people I relate it to the fact that I've got this obsession with ironing because I hate ironing, and I just iron all my clothes, my clean clothes, ready for the week. And then someone came and just took the ironing basket and tossed it into the air, and I was scrambling to pick up stuff.
Scrambling to grab bits.
And put it together.
Yeah.
Because I had twin boys, and we had this amazing life. I mean, we had this most idyllic migrant life. My husband came here when he was 6. I came here when he was 25. We met at a church. You couldn't meet in any better place. We had a house almost paid up. We did an extension we didn't owe any money for because we saved. And we had an extension, and the extension was about 2 months old.
Oh, wow.
And we had planned and actually agreed on something. And we were 2 different people, my husband and myself. Like, he was an extrovert, I was an introvert. But we had this marriage going. We had these children. Our financial situation was fabulous. Our careers were amazing. And then this
basket of clothes got thrown in the
thrown
air.
into the air. When we heard that this tunnel was coming through, I had a look at the webpage. It didn't tell us much, but from what I had seen, it seemed like it was going to be this tunnel with numerous lanes, and there was definitely going to be a smokestack. And when I opened up the map, the stack was going to be about a few meters away from my house. Right. Yes.
So the smokestack goes up in the air,
Yeah.
and all of the exhaust fumes from the car come down from that smokestack straight on top of your house.
That's right.
On top of your boys.
Yep. And I looked at the drawings and I went, so we've got the smokestack away. We've got a 6-lane highway beside us. We've got some big water tank behind us. And I said to my husband, and I remember saying to him, we can't live among this. And neither can we raise 2 boys amidst this chaos. And I said to him, could you imagine, like, there's going to be 10 years of construction in this humongous project. And when one of these people thinking, who are these people making these decisions? They're not in touch with us. Like, they're up there. They make these decisions. They draw these lines. And they have no idea how it's going to impact on people. And that's when the argument started with Jeremy and myself. And you have this marriage where it's difficult and you're different, but you carry on. But in a crisis, we fell apart. I remember one day feeling this incredible rage and actually verbalizing to him that I was going to be violent towards him at a meeting, funnily enough, with the state member for Stratfield at the time, who was a Liberal leader. And
are you typically violent?
No, I'm not.
No.
I'm a very peace-loving, very calm person.
So you threatened him with violence at a meeting?
I threatened him with violence and swore, which he hates.
Yeah.
I was so angry. We went to the meeting to find out what was going to happen to our house because we didn't know what was going to happen. And I said to him, the best thing to do is go and see our state member, who was also the person who was looking after the transportations in New South Wales. And I said, let's go and meet with him and see what happens. And so we went and met with him. Jeremy got all the eye contact and all the information, and I was basically told to calm down, and Jeremy was told to look after me so I don't lose it so much.
Before the rage, what were you feeling in that meeting? What was happening in your body?
I was feeling a complete loss of control of what was happening to me. I was feeling incredible hate towards Jeremy, who felt things were going to be okay if we continued to stay where we were, and I could absolutely see it wasn't. And also the fact that Jeremy thought that the person we were speaking to had our best interest at heart, and I clearly could see he didn't.
Why was your hatred at your husband and not at that man?
I think
Why was your husband the butt of it?
It was Jeremy who was the butt of it, was because our lives were affected, not his. And he made a flippant comment along the lines of saying that, where you live is fabulous, and even my daughter's looking for a cheap place to buy, and I'd definitely tell her to buy in your area. And so it was all this flippant,
Thoroughly dismissing.
Kind of, you have to look after your wife so she can calm down and everything's going to be all right. And I felt like the gimmick and the selling of this big project was already bought by Jeremy, as it was by many
Okay.
other friends and family who I
Yes.
talked to about it, and who were convinced that this was the best thing that the West needed. Westconnex was fabulous, it was going to ease traffic, and Jeremy bought it. And he kept constantly calling this person sir. And I remember the gentleman got up, left the room, and I leant towards Jeremy, and in this, no joking, said to him, if you call him sir one more time, I'm going to take this chair and bring it down on your head. He's just another man. And he's a man who actually has no regard for what people like us are going through.
Can you tell me about Richard?
So Richard actually has an amazing story. He bought his first home in 1951 in Underwood Road in Homebush, and it was bush at that stage.
Was it? It was bush.
And you can still actually go to some places where it's got so much greenery, and the migrating birds actually still stop over.
Yeah.
So our house is on Underwood Road, and it is very close to the park where the bird watchers go and watch the migrating birds.
Is it?
Yeah.
Your house is on Underwood Road?
Yeah. Oh, well, it doesn't exist anymore. It's a big car park for big Westconnex trucks.
So where was Richard?
Yeah. So Richard was 90 Underwood Road. I had Mumtaz beside him, who was a British Indian lady. We were like sisters, and we undertook to look after Richard like our grandfather or father, because he lost his wife 10 years ago, and when we moved in, Mumtaz and myself used to check up on him, and he actually got really depressed. And I
Did he?
remember once him expressing he didn't want to live anymore, and Mumtaz and myself said, come on, we've got to get this man live. So we kind of drew up a roster, and Mumtaz more than me, and she would go and see him every evening at 4. I wouldn't go at that time. I'd check up on him in the morning to see if he hadn't fallen over. And
So it was a real little community
it was a
around
fabulous
there.
community.
Yes. What happened to your community then?
In fact, when I went to Richard's funeral, which was a few months ago, I met all the other neighbours there. The funny thing they said to me was that I looked happy. And I went,
How did
what
that-
do you mean?
Yeah.
And they said, because we're still standing here talking about Westconnex and how it's affecting our life and how horrible it has been and how horrible it is.
So do they resent you?
I think I feel a bit sensitive about flaunting my new life to them.
Do you feel guilty that you got out?
I feel incredibly guilty.
Do you?
As I get into my car and I walked away from
From the funeral?
6 of them at the funeral, and I could still hear them talking about booking an appointment to see the local MP to discuss the problems they're having with their house and the dust and the noise and apparently the truck drivers who park the cars and rev it right through for an hour waiting for the rubble to be picked up, and the cracks on the walls and their gardens being just distorted.
So all of that loss and that rage and the impact on your relationships at home that you experienced, you got to leave that, and they're still in it every day.
And I got into my car and I looked back at them and I could still hear them talk about it. And I went, my mother was right. These things happen for a reason. Thank God I fought to leave. And I'm so grateful I left.
You're grateful.
I felt the survivor guilt. I
Survivor
felt
guilt,
sad.
okay.
I felt sad that they were still talking about
And
it.
do they feel angry towards you at all?
I think sometimes they might.
Yeah.
I did have comments like, oh, so you've abandoned us now, and
Yeah.
things like that. And I remember when I went to see Richard and we had this conversation with his doctor, and I said to his doctor, oh, did you realize that he had an incredible stress in his life recently? It's the Westconnex tunnel that's going to come through, da-di-da. And the doctor said, this is not the first patient I'm hearing this about.
Those individuals are being dealt with one by one for their problems, but it's like telling you to calm down, isn't it? You're the problem,
Yes.
not addressing the decision makers above that who have put all of these people into these appalling positions.
That's right.
And it makes sense then to me to hear that your neighbours would feel some anger towards you, because their anger at those decision makers is futile. It consumes you. That loss and that rage
Yes.
consumes you. And if you don't mind me saying, it reminds me of your rage at your husband.
Yes.
That displaced anger from the people who are actually causing all of that distress. In a way, there's no point being angry with them.
Yeah.
So you start being angry at the people
And
around you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you feel an emptiness?
Oh, I did, and I could say to you, it was one point where I felt like I was sitting in the back room of my house, this beautiful, amazing room that we just renovated, and Jeremy had categorically told me he was very sure that he didn't want to leave Homebush,
Okay.
and that he wanted to ride it out.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember sitting there thinking, what am I going to do? And there's this incredible fear of my future, my relationship. And I felt, in my head, I needed to make a plan, but I felt empty. When we started to have lots of fights and lots of arguments, I could feel my boys being drawn into it. And I did want to protect them. And I felt I needed to, and the social worker in me came out, and I felt I didn't want them to spiral out of control like Jeremy and myself.
Yeah, little sponges picking up.
Yeah. So I was getting incredibly angry and filled with this rage, and getting just louder and more vocal. That's how I was dealing with my situation. Jeremy got really depressed.
Did he?
Jeremy had to take time off work. He took 18 months off work. Thank God he had long service leave.
18 months off work,
Yes.
one motorway, and just one person gets 18 months off work with depression.
Yes.
Imagine all of those hundreds and thousands of people with all their individual consequences.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Were there unhealthy ways that you've filled that emptiness?
Yes.
What were they?
I ate myself silly.
Did you?
Recently, I went to my doctor and she said, what had changed for you? And I said to her, since the last 3 years, I've been going through this incredible stress of losing my house, nearly losing my family, nearly losing my marriage.
Yeah.
So the best thing I reached out to was food. So I don't
Yeah.
drink alcohol, and neither did I use any other recreational drugs. I ate myself silly, and I ballooned out. And I actually have a picture 2 days after we realized that our house was going to be acquired. And I'm there in all my 68 kilos of amazing glory. And then the other day I looked at a picture of myself and I'm about 95 kilos. And I went, who is this fat lady?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I said to my doctor. I said, what has changed over the last 4 years has been my weight. And I would have a fight with Jeremy and eat an entire frozen pack of biryani. And then
that
go off
cycle.
to a Westconnex campaign meeting and come
Yeah.
back and just eat.
Yeah.
Eat. And
So just this cycle of anger and a sense of futility, fight with your husband, and then just bring those emotions, soothe those emotions back down by eating.
yeah. I would say I'm on the road to recovery. It takes a long time to build a marriage. I think I've said a lot of incredibly rude things and very hateful things towards my husband. He hasn't said much, but his silence was often a bit annoying. But I think we are slowly building a relationship. In fact, I remember someone whispering behind my back, and it was two real estate agents, "Oh, there goes a crazy Indian lady." And so I looked at myself as being this crazy Indian lady
Yeah.
who was still stuck in old age public transport thoughts. And then I met these amazing people who absolutely thought what I was thinking, and actually said it's not old, it's a modern way of thinking. Public
Yeah.
transport is what would get people into the cities and have people function well.
And then it's acceptable to care about health.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
As
And
a
trees.
societal issue, not as
Yes.
an individual issue. Did you save anything from your house?
Yes, I have the door frame where my kids have their heights marked on, and I have about 10 plants, pot plants that I took to my apartment at the moment. I think that might have been the only greenery that was saved in all of those 40 houses area. I don't think anything else was saved. They were massive trees. I remember my kids in autumn, they had the trees that really shed their leaves, and they would run through it and roll around in it and have an amazing time with the neighbors' kids
Yeah.
because they shed so much. Yeah. I'm still with Jeremy, and we do love each other, and I still have my boys, and they have a great life. I live in Australia, which is a great place, and I'll get there.